And welcome, everyone, to Redacted on this Tuesday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And on this show, we cover the stories the mainstream media largely ignores, or at least we try to sift through all of the propaganda and BS that they heave at us on a regular basis. So today, we're going to look at the bombing of Qatar, which unfolded this morning. Of course, the usual suspects jump online to celebrate this move, attacking a sovereign country. But the story behind it all is far more interesting and far more disturbing. What is going to happen now as the Middle East descends into chaos? We're going to look at the very latest on that.
We're also going to look at ICE raids and how Chicago is like, no, we like our criminals. Please leave them here. We like that. We're going to look at that. Also, the story here we're going to do tomorrow. That was my mistake. We're going to look at a new poll from NBC that shows that liberals who voted for Kamala Harris rank marriage and family last on their list of priorities for a successful life. Their biggest priorities are going to shock you. Let us know in the chat what you think they are. Whereas people who voted for President Trump have family and marriage at the top of their list of life's priorities. I find this a sad commentary, and we're going to talk about it together. We're going to talk also about revelations out of the UFO hearing that happened in Congress today. So hold on to your butts for that. It's a busy show today.
Yeah, Congressman Burleson is going to be here. He just dropped a bombshell UFO video during this testimony, during the hearing today. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But first, a few weeks ago, a group of influencers were, let me start that again. Is the chat up and running, David? I just want to make sure that we're all good to go. I know we've been having internet issues. We're all good? No? Okay. I think we're good. Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
We are good. Okay, good. All right. Well, a few weeks ago, a group of influencers were given the royal treatment by Israel. Hey, we'll fly you into Israel, put you up in a hotel. You'll meet with Mike Huckabee, Benjamin Netanyahu, and give you some good propaganda, and then we'll send you on your way back to the United States. Well, they're ramping up a new round of influencer trips right now. One of those companies that handles these trips is called Israel 365 Action. Here's what one of their initial messages to an influencer says. A source provided redacted with one of these messages. Invitation influencer trip to Israel. Hello, my name is, and I'm a fellow content creator in the anti-woke movement. I'm also Jewish and a volunteer with an organization called Israel 365 Action. We're putting together a possible delegation of conservative content creators and leaders to go to Israel during the week of 10/26 to 11/1, 1st of November. We're still working out the itinerary and details, but attendees will get to explore more about Israel's biblical history, visit the October 7th sites, and I believe check out some operations from the Gaza border. They're looking for mainly non-Jewish allies and creators who haven't been to Israel yet post the 7th of October. I thought of you since you've been standing up to the raging anti-Semites lately. If you're interested, feel free to reach me here or email. Well, we also got to look at on their website today exactly what that itinerary looks like. So you can expect to have a nice little breakfast, 7 a.m. breakfast, Israel Advocacy Boot Camp, visit the southern border communities, and then you'll have lunch and you'll have a lecture about anti-Semitism. Then you'll have 1 o'clock, you'll be volunteering, such as field work or repairing bomb shelters, visiting soldiers in the hospitals. And then at 4 p.m., connecting biblical prophecy to the current state of Israel. Then you'll have dinner, a barbecue with IDF soldiers. And then at 8 p.m., you'll go and visit bereaved families. So a full day of propaganda so that you can take it back to the United States. So to anyone paying attention, this was intentional, laying the groundwork for positive news coverage over the summer once the bombs start falling once again, once they go back to war fully with Iran or anybody else in the region. Well, this morning the bombs started falling, and the positive influencer press coverage followed right behind it, as just like on cue. The very influencers who were invited to Israel back in early August immediately started posting positive comments on how it's about time we took it to Qatar on social media, bombing Qatar, that they're terrorist sympathizers who house Hamas. This morning, Israel launched multiple bombing attacks on a sovereign country of Qatar. 10 explosions were reported across Qatar. Israel's IDF, Netanyahu, immediately took responsibility for the attack, saying they were targeting Hamas leadership in Qatar. Earlier this week, Trump asked Hamas leaders to meet in Qatar to talk about a ceasefire agreement. They accepted that, and then Trump authorized the military strike using the Israeli military flying through presumably Iraqi airspace, because that's the only way they would really get there. So that means that our air defense systems that we coordinate with Qatar were told to stand down and allow this to happen. Full coordination with the United States. It's fully financed and supported by U.S. taxpayers. Max Blumenthal is the editor of the Gray Zone, he tweeted this. 2 days ago, Trump issued a short proposal and warning designed to compel Hamas's exiled leadership to gather in Doha, Qatar. Hamas said at the time, it looks like Trump's proposal was written by the Israelis. If you read it, it certainly looks that way. When Hamas met today in Doha, U.S. air defenses in Qatar stood down. Israeli officials have told the Jerusalem Post that the U.S. greenlit the decapitation strike. The negotiations have reached their death knell as Israel moves towards its final solution in Gaza. Of course, they dropped leaflets over that area the other day. And the Trump administration has once again shown its true face as a subsidiary of the Zionist regime. A lawless access of messianic genocidal gangsterism spans seamlessly from Tel Aviv to Washington, D.C. Now, Sagar Enjeti from Breaking Points posted this just a short time ago. He said it's a real wonder why Putin, Modi, Xi, Kim Jong-un, South Korea, and more aren't taking a U.S. security guarantee or diplomacy all that seriously anymore. Like, hey, come meet with us, have a meeting at a particular location, and then I guess we'll bomb you.
And it's worth remembering that in recent history, Qatar promised the Trump administration $1.2 billion investment, gave him a plane to use as Air Force One, 400 million Boeing aircraft. So now,
well,
why? Yeah, and we
trillions
allow
of dollars,
right? And we allow an attack on their sovereign nation. And so, how is that going to play out with this? What we thought was a nation friendship.
Well, I mean, and also you recall that Eric Trump was there for like a signing ceremony because they're about to roll out a multi-billion-dollar Trump International golf course in Qatar. Like, okay, but we're just going to bomb your country?
Right. Now, you found this earlier from the Times of Israel showing that people were killed in this strike, but they were not Hamas. And so even if you were targeting Hamas, you're killing civilians then, or who were they? We still don't know. Now, on target, United States representatives of the Senate and the House have started to say Israel has a right to hunt down terrorists wherever they know they are. So I have a question. Do they have a right to do that in the United States? Is it okay for them to start bombing here and then our children are also collateral damage? Because what is the extent of that, of attacking sovereign countries that have not attacked you? I'm just very curious if that's our stand now from our politicians, because I didn't vote for this.
Well, no, the UN.
I just want to know, like, oh,
go ahead, Phil.
Sorry, but I just want to know, like, where it's just so bizarre that the U.S. can greenlight one country to attack another. How the hell is that? Like, where are we in that? How are we in that? Why are we?
Well, the weapons are ours.
The weapons are ours. The financing is ours. The airspace is ours. And also, by the way, it looks like, according to reports, that the airport, one of the air bases in Qatar, U.S. air base, was used in coordination with this attack because Air Force jets were scrambled to assist in this attack from Qatar. So imagine that. Like, I just think about the logistics of that for a second. That, you know, RAF, Royal Air Force jets, and U.S. Air Force jets, and others are just be able to launch from Qatari airspace to assist in an attack on its own country, right from a U.S. airbase in Qatar. Like, talk about masochism. The UN condemned this attack. So many other countries in the region, of course, condemned the attack, from Lebanon to Libya, etc.
Canada has done the same.
Yeah. Even the Pope had something to say about this attack on a sovereign country. Qatar immediately responded, saying this was a cowardly act by Israel. Max Blumenthal is the editor-in-chief, the chief bottle washer over at the Gray Zone, one of the finest journalism news outlets in the world. And he is here to join us today. Max, great to see you, as always.
Hey, good to see you both. Thanks for the kind words.
My pleasure. So we read your tweet. I know you were just joining here as you've been slammed busy today, but we just read your tweet about the 2 days ago Trump issuing this meeting designed to compel Hamas leadership to gather in Doha. So I don't think people immediately knew that that was the case. I mean, obviously you did, and other people who understand what was going on here. But Trump, people are likening it to like the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, like inviting people to a room, and then they're all going to be slaughtered as part of a ceasefire proposal. It's unbelievable.
And Israel's name for its unprovoked attack on Iran on June 13th of this year was inspired by the Game of Thrones. I think it was the Hebrew term for red wedding. So they're not even hiding it. Israel immediately Netanyahu sent his biggest stenographer in the media, Amit Segal, out to claim that the Trump administration had been exploiting negotiations to buy Israel time for this unprovoked attack, and that the negotiations were actually orchestration with Israel. I'm talking about Iran. And now we see the same scenario playing out where Trump was basically handed this 100-word proposal by the Israelis. It went back to Hamas unchanged. Of course, Hamas was going to agree to some form of it. They had just agreed to the last proposal, and then Israel said, well, too bad. We don't care. But this time, the point of the proposal and Trump's warning to Hamas that they had better accept it was to force Hamas to get its international negotiating team together in a neutral third country so they could be targeted. And the U.S.-controlled air defenses in Qatar stood down. The Patriot batteries require U.S. operation, and they just stood down, allowed Israeli jets to operate in the airspace with British surveillance and refueling tankers in the air right over Qatar. And they attempted to assassinate the entire Hamas negotiating team in a fairly densely populated civilian neighborhood near schools at a time when school was getting out. The Israelis have now come out. They immediately told the Jerusalem Post that the Trump administration gave this a green light. And what was Trump going to do? Say no to the forces that completely control his administration? So there's no more negotiations. Israel's moved beyond that. They're not even pretending to negotiate anymore just to buy themselves time. They're in final solution mode in Gaza, and they're ready to kill everybody who was on the other side of the table.
Now, Israel apologists are saying, well, this is on Hamas because they keep rejecting the ceasefire. I don't know what planet those assholes are on, but what are they talking about? Because Hamas has repeatedly offered to return all remaining hostages in exchange for Israel's removal from Gaza. So what are these people? Can you follow that logic at all? I'm asking you to explain idiots, but what do you think they're talking about?
Well, they're lying because Rubio and the Trump administration lie every time Hamas accepts a ceasefire proposal. Israel rejects it, walks away, and Rubio provides cover for Israel because the U.S. functions as Israel's lawyer. That's all there is to it. Hamas has accepted the last 3 ceasefire proposals, and they've been accepting proposals since at the late, like one early sequence I can think of is May 2024, and then Blinken allowed Israel to blow it up. In Gaza, they refer to a series of massacres that took place this year as the Witkoff massacres, because Hamas gave up Idan Alexander, the American hostage, one of their biggest pieces of leverage in direct negotiations with Steve Witkoff and his team. And in exchange, Israel conducted a series of massacres across Gaza City and Khan Yunis, executing fire belts with F-16 and F-35 jets in residential areas. And so they call that the Witkoff massacre. They were tricked by Steve Witkoff into giving up leverage, and in return, they got massacred. So this happens again and again. And the people you're referring to just look to the Trump administration as the arbiter of truth, which means they're living in an alternate reality.
Yeah.
I'm just confused where Qatar fits into all of it. What will the relationship be like going forward? Anya Parampil,
I don't know.
You know her well. She tweeted earlier. I reposted it. I mean, is it like an empty suit country now? Basically, like it's like I don't know. It's like Stockholm syndrome or something. You're just like allowing these people to like build bases in your backyard and direct weapons to attack your own people in your backyard. Like, what happens with Qatar now?
Well, Qatar was sort of a series of breakaway families from the monarchic kingdom that was established by the British in Saudi Arabia and in the Persian Gulf area. And so in order to protect themselves as a state, they play sort of oppositional politics. They've emerged as a negotiator. They have 12 active negotiations going. They pump hundreds of millions of dollars into Washington and now the Trump administration to obtain influence. and they allow the U.S. to operate the largest military air base in the region. There are 10,000 U.S. soldiers at Al Udeid Air Base, and the air base is there to consolidate Qatar's relationship with the U.S., which protects them from Saudi takeover. The Saudis attempted a siege on Qatar in 2017, and it also protects their oil fields. In exchange, they just subordinate themselves and their entire country to the U.S., and they're not a real country. They're a neo-colonial carve-out that consists of a small coterie of extremely wealthy royals, oil fields, a slave class that provides all the services, Al Jazeera, and the U.S. military base. And so what power do they really have to resist the U.S. at this point? This is the warning that Hassan Nasrallah, the late leader of Hezbollah, made to all of the Gulf kingdoms, that at some point they are going to come for you too, no matter how much you bend the knee to U.S. and British empire. And now we see that happening. And they will also come for Turkey and Egypt. In fact, Israel just attacked yesterday in Palmyra, Syria, a Turkish military base. Turkey was setting up a base to train the soldiers of the new Syrian government of Ahmed al-Sharaa. And Israel apparently attacked Tunis, in the port of Tunis, and staged a drone attack against Greta Thunberg's boat, her flotilla boat that was in port. Remember, Israel attacked in 1985, 40 years ago, in Tunis to send a commando team to kill PLO officials. So now, 40 years later, they're attacking Greta Thunberg. I mean, this really shows the psychotic direction that Israel's moving in, and also the all-encompassing global war that it's waging on all fronts to compel complete subservience and submission before its regime.
We have a lot of haters who followed you here and are calling you a Hamas supporter. So I'm sure that's brand new and hurtful to your feelings. We get that too. Something I want to understand is Saudi Arabia has said they condemn this. Way to wake up. Where have they been all along? And are they going to do anything about it?
They'll issue sternly worded statements, and I think they should see the writing on the wall. Israel's doing this partly as a message to Saudi Arabia: normalize or die, because Mohammed bin Salman has said that he will not normalize until Israel recognizes a Palestinian state, which they will never do. The Israeli Knesset has even passed a bill blocking any Palestinian state from ever being recognized. And so Israel's basically saying, you're next. We could kill you next. And if you do not normalize, normalization is code for submission and subservience. And the United Arab Emirates has already done that. Then, horrible things can happen to you. So this is a message to everyone, Jordan as well. And I think Egypt has a big problem on its hands too. I mean, Egypt is in a cold peace with Egypt, which was secured through the 1979 Camp David Accords. Egypt has basically given up. It was once sort of the center of Arab nationalism and Arab resistance to Israel. However, it has a strong military. I mean, it's a U.S. provided, U.S. supplied military, but it's the last Arab military capable of competing with Israel's. And Israel's final solution in Gaza, the ethnic cleansing of Gaza to complete the genocide, is contingent on Palestinians being pushed out through the Rafah checkpoint, just like a constant flood of Palestinians going into the Sinai Desert. And Egypt will never allow that. I think Saudi Arabia would be deeply concerned about that too, because the Saudi population and Saudi civil society won't accept it. And so Israel will begin to turn up the heat on Egypt as well. And I could actually see that leading to armed conflict at some point in the future. We're witnessing something, a process that I never thought I would see in my lifetime that could actually lead to Israel's demise, but not until after Israel realizes the position it's seeking as regional hegemon.
Yeah.
I wanted to before we get you out of here, Max. Well, first of all, people are questioning this Greta Thunberg story, and I want to allow you to respond to it. But earlier we saw there was video released, I don't know if you were aware of it or not, that it looks like there was a flare launched from her own boat. so that maybe there was no attack at all. I don't know the full context of this flare and the full video, but anyway, we can comment on that. I don't know if you've seen that updated video about this flare. And then I also want to get your take on this influencer campaign. Before you joined us, I sort of laid out how there's a number of different organizations, one of which we highlighted here, 365 Israel 365 Action, which has been sending out emails to journalists or influencers online. I shouldn't say journalists, inviting them to Israel to go around to different sites and go to different operations at the Gaza border and see all of this sort of stuff. Then they'll have lunch, they'll have breakfast, they'll have a barbecue with IDF soldiers at 6 p.m. at night. You can see here's the full itinerary that a lot of these influencers got. There was a whole contingent of influencers that went back in August, and of course, they come back, and once this bombing sort of campaign already starts, then they're immediately online, and they're already posting sort of pro-Israel messages. It's not surprising at all, but maybe you can talk about both of these things before we let you go.
Well, the passengers on the Samud flotilla, which is heading towards Gaza, where Israel's carrying out a campaign of deliberate starvation to force the population into concentration camps and then out of Gaza in a open plan for ethnic cleansing and genocide, currently bombing the largest residential buildings in the Gaza Strip, including buildings that I've been in where no Hamas was present, in order to deny any living space to the population in Gaza. The flotilla that's moving towards Gaza via Tunis to disrupt this Holocaust and expose it as well was going to be targeted at some point by Israel. And there's a precedent here. We're not just talking about the 2010 assault on the Mavi Marmara, the Turkish flotilla ship in the Mediterranean and international waters, in which 9 passengers, including 1 American citizen, were massacred by Israeli commandos from the Shayatet 13 Naval Division. But the following year, in a Greek port, Shayatet 13 disabled and sabotaged a flotilla boat using underwater frogmen teams. So this has happened before, and it wouldn't be surprising if it's happened now. And Itamar Ben-Gvir, the crazed ethno-supremacist fanatic who is Israel's security minister, has said that he will define all flotilla passengers as terrorists. Basically, activists are terrorists. This is while Israel's massacring journalists openly in the Gaza Strip. Journalists are terrorists. Everybody's terrorists. The Venezuelan government are narco-terrorists. Anyone that the messianic gangster regime that spans from Tel Aviv to Washington opposes is a terrorist. And so it would make sense that they attack this boat. And I'll be looking for more information on that. About these influencers, well, obviously, if everybody in the world who's paying attention to what's taking place in Gaza is waking up to images of shredded children every day, then Israel's going to have a hard time with its public relations, and it's seeking out some of the most suggestible, low IQ, malleable, and avaricious figures within Trump's base and sending them on these trips to not just biblical sites, but also to experience anti-Semitism, Clockwork Orange style indoctrination sessions where they are told that Jews are the worst victims in the world when we actually live in unparalleled privilege in a golden age in the United States. And then they're sent back, and they're basically incentivized to propagandize for Israel. And that's all Israel has left. Look at the interviews that Netanyahu's been conducting when he refuses almost every interview with Hebrew language Israeli interviewers. He's been talking to the frat bro Nelk boys, who had no idea who he was until they decided after the interview that, in their words, he was a modern day Hitler. And they're meeting with some of the biggest Neanderthals in the podcast circuit who have no capacity to push back. Influencers on that trip that you pointed out from, Israel's 365, they get to lob softball questions at the Christocratic end-timer Mike Huckabee, who functions as the reciprocal Israeli U.S. ambassador. That's what they get, and they think that they're in the room with someone important. And their funder is something called the Philos Project, which is itself funded by the biggest Zionist foundations in the U.S., which function as cutouts or Israeli assets. The Milstein Foundation of convicted felon Adam Milstein, Snyder Foundation, Marcus Foundation. These are all the same funders of the Canary Mission, which has been involved in the surveillance of and targeting of the Palestine Solidarity Movement and has worked with ICE to remove Palestine activists who have green cards to ICE prisons and out of the country. So it's pretty obvious what's going on here, and it's not a grassroots campaign. There's no support left at the grassroots for Israel, and that's what Israel's really lost as they have gained global, sort of regional hegemony after October 7th.
Well, I mean, you talked about tapping into your programming about anti-Semitism, but I watched you give a speech recently at the Ron Paul Institute where you talked about a trip you took to Iran and visiting Jewish communities inside Iran. And I was so fascinated at how you said they are not obsessed with anti-Semitism. It is not really a big part of their identity. And that never occurred to me before because there's no use value in that existence if you live in Iran as a Jew. Whereas you can see that as the calendar ticks towards October 7th, we're going to see that hit a crescendo again because of the use value, right?
Yeah, and first of all, unlike the influencers going to Israel or like CNN commentators, Kevin Jennings or Van Jones, I actually paid for my trip to Iran. It wasn't the same thing, and I was able to meet with Iranian Jews in their synagogues, in their community centers, and hear from them about what their lives were like in Iran. And they were safe there. They were completely secure. I went to their holy sites, which go back to the granddaughter of Jacob, Sirach bat Asher. There is her supposed tomb, as well as the supposed tomb of Mordecai and Esther from the Purim tale inside Iran. There's this rich Jewish history. They are a protected minority inside Iran, as are Armenian Christians, as are Zoroastrians. And they were safe and secure until Israel attacked on June 13th. And I would just turn to the words of Hamayun Samea, who is the head of the 700-year-old Tehran Jewish Association and a member of Iran's parliament. He fills the seat guaranteed to the Jewish community in parliament after Israel began massacring civilians in Iran after its unprovoked attack on June 13th. He said, "We are all Iranians, whether we're Jewish, Muslim, or Christian. We all are bleeding in this war, and we all have to stand together against the forces attacking us." So that was the message from the Jewish community in Iran. While we see our Jewish leadership here in the United States, the Jewish establishment, is completely invested in this genocidal Zionist project as one of the central pillars of its identity. And while it exists in pure privilege in our country and in safety, it is obsessed with anti-Semitism, the specter of anti-Semitism, and has driven itself crazy and has driven many Jews away from it in the process. And so the question is, where do we go from here? And where do we go during this genocide? And I think where we go is where everybody else goes, where humanity goes, which is to oppose this oppressive Zionist regime, which is not just carrying out genocide in Gaza, but poisoning our own societies and spiritually destroying Judaism.
And I've heard that from a lot of Jews, not just yourself. I think you're absolutely right about that. A lot of people in our chat room saying you are 100% over the target. And then there, of course, there's a lot of angry people in here as well. But then you're over the target.
Yeah.
When you've angered people, you're over the target because you've done your homework. Been more than. Go ahead, Philip.
If I can chime in, I'm just a little sad that eloquent takedown of those influencers. They probably won't understand just how took down they were from that, and that's sad to me.
I hope it goes viral.
Yeah. For sure. No, and they're going to be heading back there. So get ready for more of these influencers who are, sharing their photos with Mike Huckabee and Netanyahu. They're going to be there going to the barbecue with IDF soldiers at 6:00 at night and having dinner with them. And you're going to be seeing a lot of that as we gear up for October 7th. Sure, for sure.
I mean, I got a full disclosure. I went on a free trip to Israel when I was a young person. 25 years ago, I went on the Birthright Israel trip. And
who paid for that? Like who pays for that?
Wealthy Zionists. Sheldon Adelson pays for it. The Bronfman family pays for it. The Seagram's gin family. Wealthy Zionists pay for it. The Israeli government accommodates. And I can talk about it for an hour, but what I would say is that they aim to build a lifelong connection between you and Israel. And they did that with me, just not in the way they wanted.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I actually stepped out in the street and saw a reality they were trying to hide from me.
All right.
Yeah, you're not alone in that.
Yeah.
I mean, witnessing what they've been doing. Yeah.
That's the way these influencers see it, is they see, oh, I'm just getting a free trip to the Holy Land. But if any of them ask questions or go to the other side of Jerusalem across the 67 line and start asking questions, and they have any humanity or critical thought inside their minds, they're gonna be going in a very different direction. Unfortunately, Israel's good enough, sophisticated enough that it knows to choose the lowest IQ individuals and filter out people with critical faculties.
Right. Or young people. I mean, it's hard when someone's looking for their identity as a young person. So I understand that. Yeah, I could say more, but I'll leave it there.
Yeah, we could talk for another hour about this.
Most young people aren't falling for it. Most young people aren't falling for it. The kids are all right.
Yeah. I mean, there are still, Jewish camps in the United States are still run by IDF soldiers. They still pledge allegiance to Israel every single day. This still happens.
Yeah, in
the United States.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable story. I mean, it's just that you have these IDF camps in the United States, summer camps, where these kids go and they pledge allegiance to Israel first thing before they start their archery or whatever else they're going to do that particular day. And we know firsthand. We've actually talked to families that have sent their children there, and they pledge allegiance to IDF. The IDF runs the camps in the United States. I don't think many Americans even know that. By the way, would we be okay with China running camps in the United States? And probably there are. So
there is, if you're on your way to Yosemite, there's something called Chinese camp. I don't know what that is. It's just a sign that I passed as a kid. God. So let's not let Max ring in. Have you been to Chinese camp, Max? Do you know anything about that?
I would have benefited from some Mandarin lessons and some cultural exchange, but I haven't been. Most of the summer camps I went to were kind of like Jewish summer camps, just because there were so many Jewish kids growing up in Washington D.C. But we didn't have IDF soldiers instructing us, and I grew up at a different time. There just wasn't this indoctrination, this drive for indoctrination, and this panic about Israel's existential fate within the Jewish world. So I wasn't exposed to it as much. Thank God.
Well, thank you for sharing your experiences. By the way, the speech that I'm talking about, you can find Dr. Ron Paul tweeted it himself, and it was representative of the Ron Paul Institute. So just seek out those videos as well. Thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Max.
Thanks a lot, Natalie and Clayton.
Always great to see you. Thanks, Max. All right.
All
when people get angry in the chat, you're over the target. That's a clear a sign as ever. That's a clear a sign as ever. So thanks, Max, for that.
And if anyone's from Northern California and has been to the Chinese camp right outside the Yosemite Park entrance, tell me what that is. I could Google it, but I want to know, what is Chinese camp? Okay, coming up, we're going to talk about a new poll showing how partisan marriage is. Isn't that crazy that being a married person or a parent is now considered an extremist if that's one of your priorities in life? We're also going to talk about Chicago blocking ICE agents and new revelations from a UFO hearing in Congress. Before we do that, though, Clayton will tell you about our friends at American Financing.
Well, if you've been living on credit cards just to cover groceries, gas, and bills, you know those interest rates are brutal. Why keep paying 20% or more to the banks when you could call our friends at American Financing? They have mortgage rates in the fives, and they're showing people every day how to keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket and out of the hands of credit card companies. Right now, American Financing is helping homeowners save an average of $800 a month by using their home equity to wipe out high-interest debt with no upfront fees, no obligation, just a 10-minute call to a salary-based mortgage consultant. And here's the kicker. If you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments, putting even more cash in your hands right away. So don't wait. Call American Financing now, 866-890-8434. That's 866-890-8434, or visit americanfinancing.net/redacted and NMLS number 182334 or the NMLSconsumeraccess.org. APR for rates in the fives start at 6.327% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 866-890-8434 for details about credit costs and terms. So our thanks to American Financing.
Guess what? Chinese camp is a city.
Oh,
it's not a real thing. It's not
Okay.
an actual Chinese camp.
right.
I'm so my whole life.
you thought it was a Chinese
I thought
camp?
there was a Chinese camp there.
Like every day you would get a fortune cookie at night?
Something
before bed?
something awesome. So I'm sure it's an awesome town. I apologize if you're from Chinese Camp, California. I did not understand that. It's a sign I drove past all the time as a kid.
All right. Well, sorry to disappoint you about Chinese camp.
Yeah.
Well, a few minutes ago, hundreds of U.S. Army vehicles started pouring into Chicago by train. Yes, Bradley fighting vehicles, among other vehicles with 50 caliber weapons on there. You can see Red Cross trucks, medical trucks, troop carrier trucks, but mostly Bradley fighting vehicles. And the train just keeps on coming, all heading for Chicago. Is this part of Trump's takeover of Chicago to stop the violent crime there? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see, actually. Meanwhile, we're learning that the city leadership in Chicago, along with Chicago businesses, are intentionally interfering with ICE agents, preventing them from doing their job all across the city. Here's one of the organizations, Indivisible Illinois. Emergency protest. Get ICE out of Chicago. They tell people where to show up Tuesday, September 9th at 5 p.m. in Chicago to stop ICE agents. This is a national group, by the way, called Indivisible, but they have branches all over the United States. It's worth pointing out, right now, there have been 13,772 homicides in Chicago since 2001. That's more than the U.S. military combat deaths by 2.5 times. And of course, 80% of them are Black Americans. Terry Newsom is the host of Behind Enemy Lines. He has been out in the streets watching as these ICE agents are being harassed and blocked from doing their job. Businesses specifically closing their doors and hiding these illegal immigrants and others behind closed doors as ICE agents try to do their job. And Terry, welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. Yeah, to your point, there's multiple businesses in Chicago that are doing everything they can to try to prevent ICE from knowing about how many illegal immigrants. I have, a number of different friends that are truck drivers. Multiple locations are checking their vehicles before they back up to the docks. They're securing their front doors, even with just parcel packages. So they're locked down. They know they have tons of illegal workers, and they don't care, and they're going to try to protect them.
So this Indivisible Illinois holding this protest. Tell us about this organization. I mean, it seems like they're a national organization with a sort of a chapter in Illinois organizing people to come out and stop ICE agents from doing their job. I mean, shouldn't the Department of Justice be involved in investigating this?
Yeah. They work with another one called Action Network, another big one that gets actually more funding. Both of them work together. Individuals has their own chapters throughout the city of Chicago. And for instance, the one location, Downers Grove, I won't say the hotel, but they were there. Somebody from the hotel must have said that the ICE agents were staying there. It's in the DuPage County, which is the second biggest county in the city of Chicago. So they put them out there, to keep them probably safer. These people showed up. I sent you the video. I had a confrontation. They all got around me just like they typically do everywhere. We don't start it. They start it. As I walked up to the rally in front of the hotel, I saw another guy there with the bloody nose and stuff. I just got the video before here. They got in a fight with them. Right before I walked up, I told the police officers, hey, I'm going up here by myself. I'm not going to start trouble. The cop goes, hey, listen, I don't need any violence. I said, I'm not going to start any violence unless they touch me. And sure enough, they got around me. I ducked under them. And the one guy that looks like Shea doing the Cuban Revolution got in my face. We had an argument. He went to poke me. And I almost hit him. The police officer was behind me, grabbed my arm. The guy poked me like a half inch from my nose and was, yelling and spitting and screaming at me. And I didn't know that there was a fight right before I got there until before I jumped on the show. It's out there right now. It got pretty aggressive with one guy by himself.
Now, recently, we've shown videos of people from the area showing just who is protesting this movement to remove crime from Chicago. Yeah. And it's not actually Chicago residents. It's people from suburbs that might look in a neighborhood like Home Alone. And, all John Hughes films were filmed in affluent Chicago suburbs. So it's like those types who were coming in to protest. So do you think that what they're saying is this crime is fine for these people to live with?
Absolutely. Typical liberals, right? So many of them are paid. And I don't know if I shared before the one clip. So in Orland, all gray-haired people, right? I'm like, oh my God, they drop off a convalescent home and somewhere. I swear to God, they got walkers, wheelchairs, all gray hair, right? And then at the end, at 1:02, there was hundreds of people. They're all gone. And then I saw one of them signing a list. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are paid. And then they have the lime green shirts, which is indivisible, right? The people that were in the vests. And they're not just like vests that you buy from Home Depot in bulk, right? They had their 4, interlocked hands, for the revolution, all that stuff on the back. So somebody's paying for these green vests to even have them stamped with logos about revolution and all the crazy stuff that they represent. So yes, many, many, many of them are paid. Most of them are liberals. In the city, you get the Antifa and the BLM element, so it's a little bit more mixed, right? Most of them can't afford a car, so they don't come out to the other locations. But they're most white liberals that don't get affected by the crime. And we're hoping Tom Homan comes to Chicago, because if he does, I promise you, we will pack whatever location he comes to with minorities, Hispanics, African Americans, Italians, Polish, that are being affected in their communities. Not these white liberals. They seem like the majority because they're being paid and they're trained to protest, right? It's a lie. The people in the communities need help, but they're not the same people that will go out and protest, right? And have signs made for them.
You mentioned a couple of these companies that are blocking these ICE agents, or like doing the best they can to go behind sealed doors. A bunch of people in our chat room are saying, hey, can you name some of these companies? Would you care to name them? Or are you going to keep?
No, because they are definitely under investigation right now. That's all I'll say. I don't want to blow. I'll tell you as soon as something happens. If it doesn't squeak out to the news before me, I will absolutely tell you. We know, but we can't say it because we want to make sure they do their job. And if they hear, then we're gonna.
The cover's blown.
No,
we're contributing to the problem. Okay,
well,
gotcha.
Tell us about some of these. You said if Tom Homan comes, we're going to pack it with minorities who want this. So can you share that sentiment then for those of us because the media won't share that. The social media will suppress it. So tell us what they're saying and what about the hellhole that was once a beautiful city.
Yeah, so I'm doing a press conference Thursday, which Flip Chicago Red. I've met with Hispanic pastors, dozens of them, right? There are communities being affected, not only their community, right, with the crime, the danger and all that stuff, but their reputations, the immigrants that come here peacefully that want to have jobs and start a family, right? They're the ones that are being affected, and the reputations of the Hispanic community are being affected, right? And then you have the African-American community and all the money that's being sucked out of us. I have twins that just started college, freshmen. Pritzker just signed something 2 weeks ago that he's going to be paying tuition for illegal immigrants. He opened it up that they could get tuition paid with our tax dollars. I didn't get a penny for my kids, right? And it's
yeah.
Hello?
Oh, well, Terry Newsom, host of Behind Enemy Lines, thank you for this. We're going to check back with you, and we're going to see if all those Bradley fighting vehicles and all of those other vehicles that were pouring into Chicago are there for Trump's purpose. It seems, why? Why would hundreds of them be showing up in Chicago right as Trump says that's about to happen? So we will follow that story. Terry, we're running late today. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. All right, coming up on the show, we're going to talk about this UFO hearing. Representative Burleson is going to be joining us on that. We're also going to be talking about this marriage, children, and the great political split on this new NBC poll in just moments. But first,
we want to tell you about our friends over at Bioptimizers, because if you are worried about toxins in our environment, well, you're not alone. Of course, we, know that there is an effect of 5G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth on our bodies. Signals are everywhere. We have enough research to show that this is a concern. It's like doors that let calcium flood in, which puts your cells under constant stress. But that's where magnesium comes in. It helps close those doors, keep your calcium in check, and help your nervous system stay calm. But most people don't get enough magnesium. Now, I'm pretty sure that every health influencer that you follow talks about magnesium, but did you know that you need several forms of it? Bioptimizers has all 7 essential forms of magnesium designed for real absorption, so your body actually gets what it needs to handle stress, sleep better, and stay balanced in a world full of stimulation. So go right now to check them out for yourself at bioptimizers.com/redacted. You can save 15% at checkout if you use the code redacted. They'll even offer a full 365-day guarantee, so there's zero risk to try it. And we have a subscription which is on maximum because all of our children take it as well. So check it out for yourself. That's bioptimizers.com/redacted. Use the code redacted at checkout. Get your 15% off. bioptimizers.com/redacted.
Well, some stunning revelations today in Washington, D.C. at that UFO UAP hearing. Congressman Eric Burleson has had it. Dare I say he's pissed. He's as pissed as we are. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but routinely trying to get answers and routinely being stonewalled and blocked by someone. But someone, we don't know exactly who, but Congressman Burleson released a never-before-seen UFO video over Yemen that was just released. Here is Congressman Burleson explaining what we're seeing, and you can listen to the anger in his voice. Watch.
Look, I'm not jumped to the conclusion that I believe that there are, aliens coming from another planet. But I'm open to that. And I think that it's our responsibility, especially when we're seeing that we have a government that is actively blocking information from us. Just last night, I tried to get an amendment onto the National Defense Authorization Act that fit in the germaneness of that bill to have UAP disclosure. And conveniently, it was named non-germane, mostly deemed by staff, not even an elected official. This is the kind of stuff that we repeatedly see. Last year, we were blocked by someone in House administration from being able to receive a full briefing from Arrow. So not an elected official, but someone in staff blocked us. And I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a video.
So UFO, you can. I've had it too. We want answers. We're sick of this stuff. Congressman Eric Burleson joins us now to try to get some answers on all of this. Congressman, great to see you here on the show again. Welcome back.
Hey, Clayton. Hey, Natalie.
Great to see you, and thank you for taking a few minutes out of your busy day today with these hearings. I want to put this up on the screen. This is the video that you were about to show. We just cut away from it here. This is the video over Yemen that you released for the first time. Can you explain what we're seeing here and how where this video came from?
Yeah, I received this video anonymously. It appears to be, and what was the description that came along with the video says that there is an object that's being tracked by a drone, a U.S. military drone, off the coast of Yemen, and that another drone sent a Hellfire missile at this object. And as you can see, it doesn't take it down. I mean, it warbles a little bit, but then what's really interesting is what happens to the material from the missile seems to be dragged along with this object, trailing behind it. And so that's what's kind of remarkable about this video. But look, again, I don't know if this is I don't have the forensics ability to determine if this is an accurate video or if this is AI or if it's faked in any way. But rather than sit on it, Clayton, and not give anything, I've come to the conclusion, look, it's time to shake things up, and it's time to stop holding on to things and being cautious. And if it comes out and people say, oh, this is a prosaic video of something boring, maybe a balloon or whatever, I'm fully fine with that. But what I'm not going to do is sit and sit on things and wait for that, because I think the American people have become impatient, as you are and as I am.
Right. I mean, that's why you went to Mexico, right, to look at the orb and to have discussions with individuals who were witnessing it. And maybe it was fake. Maybe it was a hoax, but it doesn't matter, right? We putting all of it out there. If only 1% of it is true, think about that. I always say that all it takes is 1 or 2, right? I mean, 1% of this stuff is probably true, probably accurate, probably authentic. We have to sift through the hoaxes. We have to sift through the BS to try to get answers here. When you mentioned this in your video, I played your video there. Who do you think is trying to stop you from getting answers? You routinely are getting stonewalled in Congress.
Yeah, it's staff within either the leadership team, the Speaker's office, or it's staff from the committee staff. Really, the committee staff are some of the most are people that block me all the time. In a lot of committees, but mostly when it comes to this topic. So Chuck Schumer last year put this same language, the UAP Disclosure Act, on the National Defense Authorization Act in the Senate. It came over to the House, and apparently Chuck Schumer couldn't even fight hard enough to keep it into the bill. The House committee staff stripped it out before it went to the floor and passed, ultimately without it. That's why I was trying to do it from the House side before it got over to the Senate, and that way it would be guaranteed that it would be in. And if my amendment had been made in order, I guarantee you it would have passed, because this is a bipartisan topic. And while there are some people that are willing to stick their necks out to protect the deep state, most members of Congress are not in that boat. There's Democrats and Republicans who want disclosure, but it's being blocked by a small handful of people.
You know, back to that video, I had a source reach out to me today, a friend of the show, and he said he believed that video was representative of other videos that he's seen where it was a plasma UFO, which would explain why it wasn't able to be brought down by a Hellfire missile. I don't know if you've heard other reports of plasmas and the plasma technology. President Trump has repeatedly now talked about the technology that the United States has. I think anti-gravity propulsion technology, I think, is starting to come out. We're starting to get answers on this, that the U.S. has this type of technology in its possession, perhaps from the reverse engineering of craft. From today's hearings, what were some of the biggest revelations that you walked away with?
I think that the testimony from these whistleblowers was amazing. And look, we've had fantastic people come forward in the 3 hearings that we've had. But you look at the lineup today of individuals and their long and lengthy careers in the military. And one, in the case of Chief Wiggins, he's still currently serving the military. I mean, these are patriots. They love their country, and they've taken incredible risks to come forward to Congress, to be sworn in under oath and to give their honest testimony. And I think that, to me, that hearing their stories, hearing the takeaways that they what they told us is what I'm going to take away from the hearing.
Was there one moment where your like jaw just sort of hit the congressional desk?
I would say the number, for one, Chief Wiggins and his story about the object that emerges from the ocean, that's pretty remarkable, especially given how much time he's spent on the ocean and knows objects. He knew very well that this was different. The testimony from, I think it's Nuccicelli, he I thought was a very compelling story because he was investigating it before he actually saw it himself. So imagine he's getting reports from other staff. He's actually having to fill out the paperwork, do the investigation, figure out what it is that they saw, and then one night steps out and sees it himself. The testimony from Dylan Borland was pretty amazing, especially what's sad is how he was treated as a whistleblower. He's not a shining example of this country protecting its citizens.
Yeah, for sure. And George Knapp was there as well, and lots of great testimony today. Congressman, I know you got to run. I wanted to thank you for just taking a few moments out here to talk about today's proceedings. And anytime you have information you want to share here on the show, we will be happy to share it and get this answer out there and try to get answers to these questions. Are we really alone? And what does the government know? That's the real story. What technology is the government using that taxpayers are paying for that we're not allowed to know about? Like, I could travel to DC and be there in 3 minutes using this technology, and that's being kept from me, or free energy. I'm still paying a lot for my energy bills every year. Like, I would love to not have to pay for that if we know that the government has free etheric energy and they stole it from Tesla. I could go on.
When I spend 3 hours on the tarmac waiting for the plane to take off because of the weather, I will get very angry if I find out that we've had this technology all this time.
Yes. We just had a 2-hour delay the other day because of a freaking thunderstorm at Denver International Airport. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. Congressman, great to see you. Thank you for the great work on this, and thank you for standing up to any kind of ridicule and anybody who wants to call you a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. Thanks for having a steely spine in all of this.
Thank you, Clayton. Thanks, Natalie.
Appreciate it, Congressman. Great to see you.
Amazing. All right. Well, coming up, we're going to talk about the difference between partisan voters and how Democrats really do not believe in family as their life's priorities. It might sound shocking. We're going to talk about this. What do you think voters who voted for Kamala Harris marked as their life's markers of success? So if you were to take a Harris voter, man or woman, and ask them, how do you measure success in life? In life, not in your career. What do you think they would say? So think on that for a second as I tell you about our friends over at Connect Invest. Because is your money working for you? Well, investing in real estate has never been easier. Savings accounts and CDs offer low returns, barely keeping up with inflation. The stock market, well, that's just partnering with the government to invest in business. So it's volatile, unpredictable. One day you're up, one day you're down. Now, though, you can invest in real estate short notes with as little as $500 with annualized returns of 9%. That's right. You heard us right. Real estate is a long proven way to build wealth, but for most people, the barriers are high costs, complex management, learning it, lack of time. Well, that's where Connect Invest changes the game. With as little as $500, you can start earning monthly returns by start investing in short notes, which collectively fund together joint projects in commercial and residential real estate. So you don't have to learn property management, no market swings, just steady, predictable income with annualized return rates of up to 9%. So it's super easy to start. You just go to redacted.inc/invest, fund your digital wallet of $500 or more, and select a short note, either 6, 12, or 24 months. See how it works for you, and then sit back and earn monthly income throughout your investment. So join the thousands of investors who are growing their wealth. And for a limited time, you can fund your account today and get a $50 bonus in your wallet, giving your investment an instant boost. So don't let your money sit in low return accounts or cash, which we've warned you about repeatedly. Take advantage of this offer, again, with as little as $500 by going to redacted.inc/invest. That's redacted.inc/invest.
I was telling your dad about this yesterday because he's got some money. He wants to move some money, make a better yield, a higher return.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm only making like 4% right now in the stupid, savings account or the treasury bonds or whatever he's got. And I told him about this. He's like, 9%?
Yeah.
So he's going to move a bunch of money into that right now. I said, go for it. Exactly.
I am just realizing that Philip doesn't have the script that I want him to have for this. Philip, do you have? So we're going to talk about. Okay, just go one
I'll just
through
follow
8.
you.
Okay, I messed this up. I put my script in the wrong place, and that's on me. So give me a second, because we are in fact going to talk about why there's such a partisan difference in family. Why now in wanting to not die alone is an extremist viewpoint. So let's talk about it. A new NBC poll shows a deep divide in priorities between Gen Z voters who voted for Kamala Harris versus those who voted for President Trump. We're going to break this down in a second. So if you can't really see that, don't worry. The starkest contrast is over family. To put it bluntly, Democratic voters do not rank having children or getting married or having a spiritual foundation as markers of life success. Both men and women in this group ranked their own careers, their own possessions, their own bank accounts over family life. Marriage and children ranked towards the bottom of the list. For Republican voters, that was switched. Marriage and family ranked at the top. Strangely enough, this is not something I would have predicted, is that male Republican voters had children as the number one indicator of life's success. Now, I also want to...
That's our whole job. I mean, I hate to be a kind of a dick about
to
it.
make the babies, not necessarily to take care of them. So, you know, I think women, we're told that men don't care about having a family. You know, maybe they like to practice to have a family.
What men, first of all, what women are told that men are, that is our primary job, is to procreate, have children, and to care for those children and protect them like lions. That's our job. That's our main thing.
Well, I will speak as someone who is very indoctrinated by liberal ideology. So I will say that we are told that it is weakness to want to get married and have babies. You are then the Charlotte of the Sex and the City, and she was positioned as the one who, like, you want a marriage and family? Why? You're so weak. Your career is not important. You would just walk away from it. You say out loud that you want to not be alone, and that was presented as weakness. And then we were subsequently told that men don't want that either, and if you pressure them, you're a drag, and that if you that all they want to do is have one thing from you, but no actual commitment. And so women believe that, so we're sort of taught not to ask for anything stable. So yes, but it turns out that men who voted conservative had a high priority on having children, and being married was number 4 on their list. Yeah, look at that on the left. These graphics were tweeted by Steve Kornacki, I believe. Owning a home, having no debt, you know, the sort of the material things ranked lower, interestingly enough, even though Trump voters are more affluent than Kamala Harris voters by and large.
Is that true? That's kind of shocking to me.
I would say...
You would think like affluent liberals.
Well, okay.
I mean, is that part of the data?
That is not part of the data. That's my extrapolation, because
blue collar Trump voters probably, are working their asses off. And, I highly doubt that most Trump voters are wealthy.
But Democrats, we know from their playbook, rely heavily on welfare, DMV, Medicaid voter signups, that they prey on low-income voters because they believe that the poorest of the poor will vote for them. So I think I would have to see. Okay, so I can't quantify that statement. We'll just say that that's my opinion. I don't know for a fact. But when we're looking at self-proclaimed life priorities, Democrats across the board rank higher, having fulfilled that. Well, it's a lot of, in my opinion, navel gazing, fulfilling job, career, having money to do the things you want, financial independence, owning a home, no debt. Now, it's interesting that I think that you probably could switch out emotional stability for being spiritually grounded for both groups. So whereas Republicans say spiritual grounding, I think they say would lead to emotional stability. Democrats want emotional stability, but they have no spirituality from which to pull it from. So that becomes their religion. That's, again, my interpretation of this, is that they have to find it internally because they don't have the social support. Now, this is not me saying religion is where you get your emotional stability, but every parenting book that you will read tells you that the number one predictor of success in children, and again, this is an aggregate, is having dinner with a nuclear family, having married parents, and having regular chores, regular interaction with a reliable family unit, and religion. And you don't have to like it, but that's what the data shows. And so it does show that what I am saying and what I think is that people who rank spirituality higher I think that they're looking for the same thing, is emotional stability. Now, where do you think, though, this divide comes from? And I've thought about this a lot as a woman who had, again, this liberal indoctrination. And I had this, on our honeymoon, I had this epiphany because I felt like, well, I finally got the marriage that I've wanted. You know, I feel weak for having wanted it. And we were walking along this boardwalk in Bordeaux, where we went on our honeymoon. And there were all these families. And I thought, wait, I think I'm supposed to want this. I think that
But you've been so indoctrinated
normal.
as a San Francisco liberal that you're like, wait a minute, I was told I'm not supposed to want this.
I saw these families. Remember, there was a carnival or a circus, and like little kids with their balloons, these French families, mom and dad, and they were so happy and taking their kids somewhere. And I was like, I think you're supposed to have wanted this all along. And I was told it was a weakness to have wanted it. And I felt weak for having got there. Isn't that crazy? How'd you marry a woman like this? But that's literally how you know.
But it's growth. I mean, this is, when you can admit that you have seen things and you grow from that, that's what all of us should want, is to be able to learn from and grow as a human being. Right?
And I think something I think about all the time is, how do I let my daughter know that it's okay to not want to be alone, to have meaningful relationships in your life? You don't have to be afraid.
You don't have to be like all these New York
You're
City.
not weak for thinking that a man would add value to your life.
You see all these New York City women, they just work all day and they're just kind of miserable.
Right.
We knew so many of them living in New York City, and they're all single, and they're mostly all single. They don't have any kind of man in their life, and they work nonstop, and they go to Whole Foods and get their dinner, and they sit on the couch and watch Sex in the City
But
at night.
I think that these women are walking around the idea of it and approaching it from different ways. Like, maybe I'll try this app. Maybe I'll try going on these types of things. They want it. They're afraid to say they want it. And that makes me sad. And I see now that the media continues to promote family breakdown as empowerment. Now, maybe this is just what's aimed at me now that I am a married woman, because when I was a single woman, I was told this is the best way to be. Being a single woman, I can do whatever I want. I have, a job, I have a career, I'm free as a bird. If you want more than this, that's a personal flaw. Now that I am a married woman, I see that the breakdown of the family is promoted to me. That became clear when I read this recent New York Post report on how meno divorce is on the rise because middle-aged women are leaving their marriages because of this built-up resentment. Again, which is just such navel-gazing. You think men don't have built-up resentment because raising a family together is hard? But no, it's all about you. You've been repressed. You haven't been able to do whatever the heck you wanted for all this time. You should absolutely do it. Look at this Telegraph report that came across lately. This woman says, I got married, I was monogamous. That was so boring. I couldn't find myself. Now I have all these sexual partners. I'm so happy. Some are men, some are women. I do this in the house with my 13-year-old child. Ugh. This is empowerment. My husband still lives there.
What?
But it's the craziest article. I read it and you'll be like, is this selfish person really being promoted as empowerment? Okay. But let's look at the data again. Does this really deliver fulfillment? Does a Sex in the City lifestyle with no one to care for and no one to care for you in return really the recipe for happiness? And why would the liberal media continue to promote it? Well, the data says otherwise. This new study recently published shows that marriage and parenthood do increase the likeliness of happiness. Humans do, in fact, crave deep, lasting connections. This is suddenly treated as novel. The data has been replicated over and over again that people who are married and also parents, if we look at this data, report higher levels of happiness. Now, again, think of all the propaganda that has to come at young people to tell them that a loving family will tie you down from your life's personal destiny. Despite all the propaganda romanticizing being alone, there has not been studies that show that people who are alone are happier, that they aim for that they don't have any goals to ever change that or have any lives partners. So again, if Democrats really cared about their voters, they would not punch down at the idea of having a family. The very thing, and we've even shown you the data again from Thomas Sowell showing that black families are more likely to far less likely to be in poverty if they are married. That includes financial stability and all kinds of. So anyhow, and instead, Democrats have earned themselves the reputation of being lonely and bitter and shriveled up, and maybe that's why they're bleeding viewers. As the New York Times showed us recently. And even Taylor Swift, who came out as in support of Kamala Harris as a lonely cat woman, has decided to get married because that's, again, a very natural human desire, is to have a lasting connection with somebody. So why do you think they would continue to promote this narrative, letting their voters think of nothing other than themselves? They might want to rethink that before their base of embittered singles just dies out because they don't have any family. I mean, who would have thought in the year 2025 that it's considered radical to believe that family matters? So let us know what you think of that in the chat.
Albie Belt in our chat says, well, living with a woman is emotionally challenging. I've tried. It is emotionally challenging. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why every man has a garage and a place to go. I mean, when things get loud.
You need a dog.
You need a dog.
You need a garage.
I'm walking the dog. I can't be here when all this is going on. I'm out. Where's Daddy? Oh, he's walking the dog. Where's Daddy? He's in the garage.
My neighbor whose garage faces my front door every single day, all day, no matter what time of day. If I step outside, he is standing in his garage. I have never seen that guy anywhere but in his garage.
You need we need something on that list of where do you rank your garage as an indicator of life success?
Yeah, I mean, I
need to be there.
There was a couple days ago, I stepped out and his garage door was closed, and I was out most of the day. I came back and it was still closed, and I almost went and knocked on his door to see if he was okay.
Yeah. Are you all right in there?
Annette Stein says, hey, no, Natalie, research shows divorced women are happier than married women. What research is that?
Show me that.
Yeah, please share. What research? Is it written by Divorce Monthly magazine?
Yeah, show me that.
I mean, they really actively want you to get divorced. If you go to a Barnes & Noble, they have an entire section now that's basically a divorce section. They really do not want the nuclear family. The nuclear family where a wife stays home and they do not want this. It's absolutely part of, I don't know if you've seen the videos about this is a psyop. The idea of having a nuclear family is a psyop.
Right. I mean, we're not even talking about the difference between marriage and cohabitation, right? We're talking about what is your goal in life? Is it just to fulfill your own personal desires? That was top of the list for Harris voters. Just what is your destiny? It's all about you, your debt, your checking account, your home ownership, your career, your emotional stability. Indicating to me that that's a challenge for Democratic viewers.
Princess Dumbarton says in our chat, my dad did a lot of gardening.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Let us know in the comments below. It is mass MK Ultra, Spooky Spoon says. Yeah. Regina says, I don't believe in statistics, especially coming from NBC. Can you talk about something more important than those black and white opinions based on a statistic?
Yeah, I mean, I think we shouldn't read too much into it, right? And this is just Gen Z, and my two kids are Gen Z, and I really want them to understand that they should want the things that they naturally want in life, and not be indoctrinated by this idea of main character syndrome. So that it's of interest to me. If it's not of interest to you, I appreciate you saying that too. That's fine.
Cappy McCappy, thank you for your $5 super chat. Says Israel and America are committing genocide in Gaza. I think that's clear to anybody with a brain. Rocks and Cows says, I guess, Rocks and Cows really did not like Max Blumenthal, but thank you for your $10 super chat. It says this guy is a blatant liar and known for it. Is Max Blumenthal known for being a liar? Who knows that?
Seen the girl have to retract a story. Have you?
Well, I've never seen him have to retract a story, but
no.
Is he a known liar among Zionists? Like Zionists who don't like him telling the truth? Like, who is he a known liar? I mean, I'm seriously. I mean, and Max is one of those people that will easily defend himself. He doesn't need me to defend him, but He's an excellent journalist, but how's he a known liar? Like among Zionists?
I don't know. That also could.
I think what they mean is
like what he says.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Is like I think that's just them saying, well, what I mean is he just says things that I don't want to hear, and that's
right.
That
I
makes
don't
me feel
agree
icky.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Amir Habibi says, shout out to the people of Nepal for standing up against the government corruption.
Oh,
yeah.
yes. And some tragic deaths there. We really should look for a guest to lay that into context. Anyhow, I do have a family. I have 3 kids. One of them, I'm going to brag a little, is on the Honor Society, and she needs to get picked up because she can't take the bus. So I'm leaving. Thank you so much for joining us today. Clayton, do you want to hang out?
I do, but before we go, I want to tell you about our friends over at Brightcore Nutrition because, ladies and gentlemen, our bodies are under attack, and not just from the air we breathe or the food we eat. We're being exposed to mRNA technology injected into the food supply, spreading through shedding, and now 5G radiation, saturating our environments with frequencies we still don't understand. See that credit card there? Like, that's the amount of plastics we're ingesting into our body on a regular basis. And our friends at Kimchi One, our friends at Brightcore Nutrition make Kimchi One, which is an all-natural, non-GMO, dairy-free, gluten-free, 100% made in the USA by a company that truly cares about your health, because that's where Kimchi One comes in. Each capsule is packed with over 900 strains of probiotics, live enzymes, antioxidants, which flush out toxins. They rebuild your gut balance, fortify your immune system against the daily assault that's constantly. And just by going to mybrightcore.com/redacted and use that code redacted, you'll get 25% off. Or if you call them right now, have a conversation with their team, you'll get 50% off and free shipping. Go to call them 888-404-6312 for up to 50% off and free shipping. Again, that number 888-404-6312. Detox your body, rebuild your gut, and take your health in your own hands. It all starts in your gut. I mean, going back to the years when I was interviewing Dr. David Perlmutter, brilliant doctor, he wrote the book Grain Brain. And in my interviews with him, he talked about how most people just don't understand, like, everything starts in the gut. Like, if your gut biome is out of whack, that's what it can lead to Alzheimer's, all sorts of mental problems. It can totally, physically change your entire body. So,
my
yes.
friend, Dr. Tutla, he was a colon cancer surgeon in Detroit, Michigan. He said 95% of everything we deal with in sickness comes from our gut. Everything.
95%?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Wow. Oh, I believe it. Yeah, read Dr. Perlmutter's book, Grain Brain. And then also his follow-up book is all about the gut. He's brilliant. And by the way, just a few weeks ago, he's been totally vindicated because all the peer-reviewed studies just came out confirming everything he'd been saying for years. Graham Martin says, I redacted. Hope you're going to look at the trauma the wars will leave on the soldiers that have to return to normal life. Oh, for sure. I mean, we've been looking at this specifically with Ukraine. And think about the soldiers that have to go through what they're going through there. Their lives are ruined as a result of it. And look at the IDF soldiers who are forced to go in and shoot little children in the head. We've actually featured a number of those IDF soldiers on the show who've come forward, whistleblowers, to talk about the trauma. They can't sleep at night because they have images of shooting little children in the head. Yeah, pretty awful. Nerd 101 says, I want more ads and less news. No, you don't. That's what's called being sarcastic. No, we have 4 ads per show in our show. We wouldn't be able to do this show without the sponsors that we have on the show. We have to pay our team. We pay for servers, our cameras. We are a small operation. We are not funded by Big Pharma or APEC or anybody else. The Daily Wire, the Daily Wire has a staff of 120 people or something like that. How do you have a staff of 120 people? It's crazy for a show like that. Anyway, so we are supported by the few sponsors that we have here on the show. So thank you guys for that. If you watch Fox and I used to do Fox and Friends, on the Fox News channel. And I did a 4-hour morning show was me, Tucker, Anna Koyman on the weekends when we did that show. And in 1 hour, we would have almost 30 advertisements. 30. It was the most profitable show on Fox News. Like, so for 4 hours, I mean, 30 ads? Think about every commercial break. There's like, what, six commercials for every commercial break? And they would just fill it. Like, so anyway, we have 4. So anyway. Rafiq, thank you, says Redacted has the best sponsors. We do, because I use all of them. That's the other thing. Jesus Flame says Clayton funds Redacted by playing dice on the streets. Can you imagine? Let's see. String Furry says, all you people make me sick. I agree with you.
Just everybody? That's pretty much
I just think ignorant people. Like I said this to a friend the other day. I agree with String Fury. I do not like ignorant people. Like, that's not true. I don't mind ignorant people. I really can't stand willfully ignorant people. Like, if you're dumb and you're not educated and you don't read books and you don't understand like the history of the Israel, you don't understand the history of the Israel lobby, for instance. Like, you haven't read John Mearsheimer's book on how the Israel lobby has affected American politics. So you don't know that just because you haven't read it, but you're like, oh, I'm willing to learn. Great. But if you're like willfully ignorant because something in your ideology just prevents you from reading a book, or you're just, you're willfully inflexible, those are the people I hate. I can't stand those people. Go ahead, Philip. You're going to say something.
Oh, no, that was my exact take, is the willfully ignorant. Like, I have no problem with ignorant people. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. That's fine. But it's when you're presented with the information and you choose not to digest it, just choose to walk away from it. That's the willful ignorance.
Yeah, exactly. Like a turd. Thank you, Redacted, says Sam73. Appreciate that. Stupid is for life. Ignorance can be taught. Someone says, yeah, again, you can't fix stupid. And Carrie Ann says, yeah, naivete is no real excuse. Right. Hey, Minnow Buckets says they can't afford a bearskin hoodie. Minnow Buckets, send me Privateer Production says I bought a bearskin hoodie. I love these bearskin hoodies. In fact, I just got one for my father-in-law. He loves it. He was wearing it all weekend. These things are fantastic. Yes, they are a sponsor of the show, but I wear it, and I love the tag.
I would get one, but I think it would.
What's that?
It would become my daughter's property. I would get one, but it would become my daughter's property. So it's just how
not if that sticker, not if that Velcro patch was on it, it wouldn't.
Does it come with a pride flag?
Oh man. Yeah, I'm just going through some of your chats here. Let's see, any other super chats? Let's see. Donate FM. Jesus through Mary says the final battle between Satan and the church will be over family and marriage, as per the Blessed Mother. Christ is King. Diva Bear, Dive Bar Diva, says they promote divorce and staying single because if a woman doesn't marry a man, they will marry the state. Exactly. Well, isn't that part of the psyop, right? If you don't marry a man, then you become part of the machine. You become part of the machine. You rely on the machine. Rocks and cows. No, you make a great point about the people that were killed today in Qatar, but those were not Hamas leaders. There was 5 individuals killed. They were not Hamas leaders. So again, they were not Hamas leadership. Even Israel confirmed that. So I don't know where you're getting that info, but just so you understand, Israel even confirmed it. They were not Hamas leadership. Greta's friend lit a flare and staged the entire thing. I don't know that. I know that the video shows a flare going off at one point. I don't know that we know the full story yet. So, but that's why I brought it up, by the way. And I did ask him about that. But what's your hatred of Max? It's just really interesting. And by the way, I am no fan of Greta Thunberg at all, but I don't think she should be assassinated if that's like what we're doing here. Like, she can be a nut job environmentalist lying about stuff about the environment, but that's her right to lie about it, and that's the left's right to use her like as a Al Gore rallying cry to try to convince a lot of people that the Earth is catching on fire, when that's a total lie. But I don't think she should be assassinated. Just BA says, just know who the hell you're marrying and do not choose poorly. I think that's very important. That's really hard. It's definitely. String Fury says, I don't burn bridges because I don't build bridges. Anything else? Do we get any other super chats? And David, what are you thinking about the software to get this? I'd love to get this up on the screen. What are you investigating? So let me just tell you, we had a software that was running called Social Stream Ninja, which would allow us to put your comments on the screen. But then it turns out it wasn't playing well with our broadcast software vMix, which caused it to crash multiple times after we instituted it. So David's been looking into a new plan.
There's nothing out there that does that I can find. The only thing we could do is only do YouTube with vMix Social, but then it doesn't really, it's hard to keep up with it, keep track of super chats.
Can I build it?
You know what? Now that you say that, I wonder if I could build it with AI, because I just built a whole app this weekend with some prompts. So maybe I'll see if I can design something, a Chrome extension.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what we can do here. Redacted needs better tech, Nerd says. Well, we're just sort of relying on the tools that exist. Like, there is no tool that exists that allows us to put up Rumble chats, YouTube chats, Twitch chats, X chats simultaneously. Like, that software doesn't exist.
Well, and also show me another.
Yeah, and I build things out of wood.
Show me another production in our industry that, like, just regular YouTube content creators that have, besides like Glenn Greenwald and a couple other people that have a production that's good. I mean, we're doing like CNN level stuff on.
We also don't take funding, so we don't have investors, we don't have funders, so that's why we don't have like a massive operation. We don't have like we don't do that. So when you're like the Daily Wire and you take a lot of money from investors, or from wherever they get their money, that's how they can afford to have a big operation like that with over 100 people working on there. So, Myron Gaines has a system for that. Someone says, Tessum JF. Myron Gaines? You guys rock, but improvements can't hurt. Hey, we're always trying to improve things. David was gone for a few months overseas, so he's back. So we're going to be doing some tweaks here in the studio to try to make it look, sound, appear as best as we can with additional cameras. We got two cameras that we've added to the studio, but we had to wait for David to get back from his Gilligan's Island.
We're not touching the sound. The sound is perfect.
Yeah, the sound is good. We got sound panels up. Everything's good. Propagandists are often well-funded. Yes, they are. And we don't take any of that propaganda money. So, and that's the thing with like the sponsors that we have on the show, they'll never, they wouldn't even dare to think about telling us what to say, like ever. And if they were, we would give them the middle finger and they'd be gone. So that would never happen here. Ultra Heat Seeker says, on YouTube, you're one of the best produced shows. Thank you. Appreciate that. Someone's saying that this Myron Gaines puts chats from all sources on screen. You could ask how he does that. I think maybe it's just because we use a vMix broadcast software that does everything. Like I don't know, maybe that's why, is that this other software just does not play well with it. I don't know.
Well, I was
there are softwares that do that. Well, I was going to say there are softwares that do that, but it's like, is their production quality as high? The person that has it on there, and that's the thing is we can't just have whatever works. It has to work with what we do.
Yeah, it has to look good too. But I was going to say about the advertising, we've had like certain companies like gambling sites and stuff that pay a lot of money offer us, to try to get ads, and we turn them down.
Oh yeah, we've turned down quite a few. Yeah. Any other super chats? Just want to get to before we wrap things up here. Anything else? Any other? Little Pete says, "Why did Israel bomb?" It's like asking, "Why does a bear shit in the woods?" Everyday Styling says, "Great show, guys. After these recent attacks, how do you see things shaping up?" Well, I mean, I'm no soothsayer, but I listen to the guests. I listen to our experts. I talk to sources. I think that they're absolutely going to continue. There's going to be a large scale attack against Iran. That seems to be coming, and yeah, that'll happen. Jacqueline says, "Am I going to Charlotte?" No, I will not be in Charlotte on that day. Kung Fu Toe says, "Redacted is shit, is the shit." Thank you. Appreciate that. Grace says, "Who was bombed in Qatar?" I mean, there was 10 locations bombed. Turns out, according to Israel, Hamas leadership was not, but there were others, family members and assistants and advisors and things like that, but Hamas leadership was not. Little Min, if you want to, we did the whole first segment of our show all about Qatar. So if you're joining us late, so people are like, "Hey, what happened with Qatar?" Just go back and you can watch the very beginning of our show. We spent 30 minutes on that. You just re-rack the sofa, thing. Can you, Blind Man Jaded, thank you for the $5 chat, says, "Hey, can you interview Joseph Jordan? He's interviewed hundreds of UFO abductees that confirm the abduction ends when they use the name of Jesus, and the entities get afraid of the name." Joseph Jordan. Sure. I'm open to anything. I will interview anyone. I'm not afraid of, any. I mean, we talk about living in a simulation right now. Like, I've been really deep diving a lot of David Icke's books and works right now. That we live in a simulation. Jordan Pinson says the Earth is flat. That's one. Like, hey, I'm happy to hear your story. I don't buy that. I don't buy that argument. That's the one I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I followed the whole like final experiment and things like that, and just like I followed that whole like drama train, and yeah, no, that's one of those that like I just don't see any plausibility to it whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't either. I can't. It makes no sense to me. But I know there are a lot of hollow earthers. I certainly believe that the moon base. I mean, without a doubt, the people that I've interviewed who've been to the moon base, who've worked on the moon base. For sure. I think the evidence is pretty overwhelming once you dive into it that is true. Lisa says, "Please interview David Icke. He's brilliant." I'd like to. I want to read more of his books, though, before I walk into that interview. And I want to spend time, and I'd like to go to the Isle of Wight where he lives and do an interview there at some point. Jacqueline Bryant says, "Clayton, you will see UFOs on 19th of September in Charlotte." Keon Simpson says, "Oh my God, no, the Earth is definitely a flat plane." Jesus Flame says they can't show you a live stream of the globe spinning. So, by the way, last week we were wrapping up the show, and you guys were sort of, sort of black-pilling me about some things, and about the idea of holograms being used for the airplanes that hit the towers, that there were holograms. And I went down that rabbit hole, and I just don't see any. I can't go there. I just don't see any evidence for it.
Well, the one thing
I think pulling off the sound, like all eyewitnesses, all of that. Go ahead.
I never bought into the hologram one, but if you do look at the planes, there's no insignia on them, and they look like military planes. So that's the one thing. Like they were saying it was United and stuff, but you see no insignia on any of the planes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I don't buy in. I don't buy the hologram piece of this. I can't. And I believe, yes, that they were remotely controlled, that the Muslim pilots were not actually flying those planes at all. They were incredibly incompetent. They could not have flown those planes. But I just don't buy the hologram piece of it. The timing of the explosions, the sound, the eyewitnesses who are witnessing that. I mean, you'd have to pull off an incredible. Why not just use real airplanes? Like, why use holograms? You have a controlled demolition with all of the explosions that are going to go off and bring down the building. You need a catalyst. So just why rely on holograms to carry that out? It just doesn't make any sense. Plus, when you see the explosions that are coming out where the planes impact, I just don't buy it. But again, I'm open to it. I just haven't seen any evidence for it.
Could a hologram even be seen in the sun like that? Like, it was a sunny day that day. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is it was a bright sunny day. I mean, and in 2001, we have that kind of technology to pull off something like that. I don't know. And to have sound, like, how are you getting the sound quality so that everyone's hearing those videos of it? I just don't buy it. They were brought down by a controlled demolition. I believe that the aircraft were remotely controlled using the uninterruptible autopilot system. 100%. Those pilots did not fly those airplanes. And it was all planned, 100%. And of course, when there wasn't nothing that hit Building 7, and they brought that down with a controlled demolition as well. And I believe the plane that hit the Pentagon was not a large Boeing 737 or 757. It was a small military aircraft from the evidence that I've seen.
I want to know who was the person who sprinkled the passport on the ground. Like, who ran in there and dropped that?
Right. The entire, and there was, thermite, of course, explosion. So everything was, basically blown to dust. Things were like molten lava for like a week and a half, consistent with like thermite. And then you ship all the steel off to China to be examined. Immediately we got rid of all the steel and sent it to China. Why? Can we not keep our own?
Realize too. The U.S. spent more money investigating the Monica Lewinsky scandal than they spent on 9/11.
Yeah. Jan says, what you saw on television was CGI. I don't know, man. Have you gone to see like a Jurassic Park film recently? Like 25 years later, the CGI,
go watch Spawn.
Yeah. Like from 2001, think about the CGI that we had back in 2001. Like, I just don't buy it. I don't buy that part of it. But again, show me the evidence. I'm like Thomas Sowell, just show me the evidence. Like, if you're going to make these claims about it, show me the evidence. I'm happy to see it. Show me the evidence that holograms were used rather than actual aircraft or some sort of a large missile that's dressed up as an aircraft. I just don't buy it.
And that's what made me like skeptical from the very beginning when I first even saw it, because well, not after I saw it, because like seeing it that day, we all thought it was legit, but like as they started to say the details of what happened and all this other stuff, and like the first thing that I questioned is like the passport, like they found a passport. So that's what started that right there is what started me down the rabbit hole. And then I was just like, none of the official story made sense. And then you looked at everything like that they did like prior and setting things up and all this other stuff. And I was just like, yeah, this is crazy. That was my first rabbit hole, and I've not been the same since.
Yeah, I mean, their story is that so why wouldn't you use actual airplanes? We've had these remote controlled airplanes for decades. and the uninterruptible autopilot system was on these aircraft. We know that the CIA was involved. These pilots could not have flown these planes. They were incompetent. There's zero chance they flew these aircraft and did the maneuvers that they did. They were controlled remotely, and these buildings were brought down with a controlled demolition to coincide with after these things had this dramatic. They needed a big spectacle. And why use CGI? Why use holograms? We have so many eyewitnesses who watched the aircraft hit the buildings. They were there. We have the sound. When I worked at Fox News, we had reporters who were there, who witnessed it happen with their eyes, not like on CGI on television. They were there who saw it happen. So how do you explain that? And how do you get the sound effects to like play across the city? That's like, you know, I mean, it's just, why not just use real aircraft?
You're basically calling those firefighters too that went in there and they don't buy the official story, who lost their lives and have been dealing with that, the lung cancer and stuff like that. Like, you're calling them all liars.
Right. Yeah. Carlos says they were remotely controlled. Absolutely. They were remotely controlled. Eldon Elder says, please reply to this comment if you can see it. I think YouTube is blocking me. No, YouTube blocks a lot of stuff, but Eldon, we can see you. They block a lot of, if you say anything like nasty or YouTube auto censors stuff. And we also do not allow links. So that's us. We do not allow links in our chat because we don't want people to be spammed and hurt by links in our chat. Blue Dog Pitt says, Clayton, you should look into the Xmas Day Nashville car bombing. Yeah, you're right about that. I should. Jan Ershwood says, the dancing Israelis. Yeah, that was interesting how they were. Like, why does that not get put inside of the official 9/11 report? It's just unbelievable. And exactly, we got the Patriot Act as a result of it. We got a forever war, you know, billions as a result. Why isn't George W. Bush not in prison? Because they're all part of that cabal, you know, they were all part of it. They were all part of it. E Major said $5 super chat. Clayton, have you heard of the ball theory of 911? I think it will intrigue you and your audience. The ball theory. I have not, actually. By the way, this week we're going to have a special live stream from Washington, D.C. A number of speakers at the Turning of the Tide event this week from Washington, D.C. We will be hosting it myself along with Tucker Carlson. He'll be joining us here on the show. So we're going to be looking at 9/11 with a lot of great speakers, including Kurt Weldon, Senator Ron Johnson, and others. Other eyewitnesses, other people have done incredible research on Building 7, you name it. So all of that is coming this week live from Washington, D.C. Redacted will be hosting, and I think we start tomorrow, don't we, David?
Yep, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. I think, what time do we kick it off? It's at 5 p.m. Eastern time?
Yep, which means we're going to have to
Eastern time.
Have a really tight show the next 2 days.
Yeah. So our show tomorrow is going to flow right into our special live coverage of 9/11 from Washington, D.C., from the Turning of the Tide event. So hopefully you'll be able to watch us tomorrow live. Jesus Flame says, dude, 9/11 is played out. For who? We still don't have any official, I mean, are you kidding me? For the families who lost loved ones on that day? For the millions of people that died as a result of our wars in Afghanistan and Iraq? It's played out? One of the greatest psychological operations ever, false flag operations ever. I mean, you thought October 7th was a big false flag operation. I mean, Israel allowed that to happen on purpose so that they could carry out the genocide in Gaza. It was a brilliant false flag operation. Of course, Hamas was created by the United States and Israel, funded by the United States and Israel, and is still funded by the United States and Israel. Like, don't fall for it. Don't be a sheep. Like, huge psychological false flag operation. It's brilliant, but the biggest and most brilliant one of all time was 9/11. It's not played out. We've got a lot we still need to learn about it, that's for sure. And we need answers from our government, and these families deserve answers for those who died and who are still dying, as Philip brought up the other day, and you know, lung cancer and so forth, right? So we're not giving up on that story. At 24 years ago, like the JFK assassination isn't played out. We still don't have answers on that. Lamb's Light says, that's lame saying it's played out. Yeah, right. Played out. We have such a short attention span. They're like, that 9/11, millions of people died. Our government totally lied to us. Now we take our shoes off at the airport. Civil liberties gone. It's played out.
Well, and that they know that about us. It's the whole 24-hour news cycle. It's like they can get you focused on a whole other story like within a day, and you'll forget about the other one. And they know that. They use it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you, guys. Much love to all of you. As always, thank you for subscribing and being a part of our community here. We really appreciate it. Our job here is to seek the truth wherever it may lead us. We have no agenda. But we are vehemently anti-war on this show, but that's our only agenda. So thank you guys for being a part of it. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And remember, 4 p.m. and then it folds right into our special live event from Washington, D.C., the Turning of the Tide, the 9/11 Answers event with a lot of great guests and a lot of great speeches tomorrow night. So we hope you can join us to kick that day off on September 10th, one day before the anniversary of September 11th. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you back here tomorrow.